Sweet.
Good.
So what this is going to allow you to do is be a better agent, have better conversations, communication, and stay focused on what you need to be focused on right now. Because when you get into the real estate business, there's a billion different things that you could be doing at one time. And your head usually gets trapped in the conversation of, oh, well, I've got to get my website up and going. I've got to get my business cards ordered, or I've got to order these signs, or I've got to customize these signs. Or it could be any mix of anything that you can do in real estate. And what Robby and I want to make sure that we do for you right now is we just kind of hone that in on what's most important for you right now in your career. Hopefully that gets you, dialed in where you can focus and take care of the tasks that need to be taken care of right now. This week is module 1, and module 1 is going to be designed to help you grasp the tools that you need, technology tools, and just the first introduction to the tools and strategies that you're going to need to start the real estate career. Robby's going to lead you guys today in getting that stuff done. We've got binders here at the office that should be behind Nancy's desk for you, and they have a lot of tools in there with sample purchase contracts, sample listing contracts, sample home inspection reports. And if you don't have those tools in there, we'll have them online, and Robby can show you and share with you where you can find those online. We can send you links to follow up on that. And also we're going to have some videos that you can watch that help you understand things like the mortgage process and how to explain the mortgage process, the inspection process, and how to understand that. So without further ado, I'll introduce Robby Allen. Robby he's been with our office for what, 5 years now, Robby?
Yeah, it's about 5 years.
Yeah. And Robby has helped top teams in the Cincinnati market and with Keller Williams Advisors organize their business and structure their real estate business. And he's also a licensed agent himself. And he's now my partner in crime here to help train you guys and make the best agents out of you that we can. So my laptop battery's about dead. So Robby, this is your course today. I'm going to let you run it, and my battery's probably going to die. So if I dip out, I'll see you guys.
Perfect. So yeah, just to follow up a little bit on what Aaron was saying with the modules, they will run on Tuesdays and Thursdays every week. So the Tuesday classes, think of it kind of like if you took your science classes, you had the lecture and then the lab. So the lectures are going to be kind of like the Tuesday, and I'm not just going to talk at you the whole time. We do want to be diving into some of these tools and showing you, like, if you know nothing else about this system or this tool, these are the 3 things that you could implement right away so you're not stuck. And then the resources you can use for further information. So we do have the binders. If you're not someone who would care to carry something like that around, I am going to show you everything does live in Drive as well. So I'm going to share my screen. So we have this Drive, which the link will go out with this recording. So all these sessions will be recorded. You can go through them at any order. They aren't designed to be taken in any specific order. And so we have the table of contents. So this is just going to show you every resource that exists in the binder for the different modules. Internet struggles a little bit, so. The email that Aaron sent out yesterday kind of gave the overview as well of what each module is. So today, like Aaron said, we're going to be talking about different tools and systems, focusing on the MLS, showing time, and just some of the other additional apps that we use in our business that helps us, that we would encourage you to consider downloading and just have ready in case that you come across it. So we have this FAQ sheet that's just going to give you things like the office license number. So when you're writing contracts, you have this as a reference guide, contact information for the different staff members and the office, addresses, stuff like that. The 30-day launch modules, So just like an overall description of what each module is. And then today the tools that we have are like the tech must-haves. So we're going to go through a list of apps that we recommend, a cheat sheet for Cincy MLS. So if you've looked in MLS and you've done a search, everything is categorized by like a suburb code. So there's each county is broken up into different kind of zones, and that's given a area code, and then each suburb has a suburb code. So there's hundreds of those, so you're not going to be able to memorize them right away. So we have a cheat sheet that has a map as well as just a list, so you can go and find it if you're looking for a specific area. We also have the different lock boxes that you might come across. I've definitely been that person at a showing that was like stuck with a lockbox. So just a quick reference guide of these are the crazy lockboxes you might come across. There's a lot, so hopefully you don't see them all. And then there's a showing time guide. So this is exactly how you can schedule a showing either through the MLS or through showing time directly. So again, everyone will get that link. We'll send that out. If you have any questions, let us know on that. So I'm going to just stop the share for just a second. So I know we probably have a mix of people at different stages. If you have access to MLS and showing time and Supra in the chat box, will you just say yes, just so we know? Just to kind of get an idea. So Ryan, Robby, Christina, Hope, Danielle, okay. James, okay. Okay, so James and Michael, it'll get an MLS. So James, I'm not sure where you're at in the process. I don't know if you have already tested and you're just waiting on that, but you do get an email from like membership at Cincy MLS. You will have to take an orientation quiz. It's not difficult. Just if you watch the video, if you don't pass it, just email that same email back and they'll send you another link. But you will have to pay like the dues and pass the orientation quiz in order to have access. So I'm just going to go through the apps first, and then we'll dive into MLS. And as we go through this, if you guys have questions, if you just want to pop that into the chat box, I'll check into it some. I'm going to be sharing my screen for most of it, so I might miss things, or just unmute yourself and interrupt me. It does not matter. So this sheet is in the binder, it is in the drive. And so these are, Aaron and I both have iPhones. So if you have an Android, some of these icons might look a little bit different, but all of these apps are available on both the App Store and was it Google Home Store, Android? What I never had an Android, sorry. So the first one we're going to talk about is Cincy MLS. This is basically like it's going to be what you use most as an agent. And then the things that go with MLS are showing time and Supra. So Supra is an electronic lockbox that is Bluetooth. So it is used a lot in like kind of like the higher price listings, or a lot of times if it's like a flip or something like that. Sometimes like in my business, I use them if it's a tenant occupied property. That way we're not worrying about like keys going missing or people accessing when they're not supposed to. So the benefit of Supra is you can know exactly when the box is open and who opened it. And if you want these actual lock boxes, you do have to buy them at the board. They're like $90 to $120, depending on if you buy like a brand new one or a refurbished one. Showing time, again, is showing time in MLS you can use in either the browser or the app. The MLS app is really just a browser version, so there's not a whole lot of difference. Showing time is like a fully developed app, and so just like it says, this is like the third-party vendor that the MLS uses to manage showings. So if you're scheduling showings, if you have a listing, you'll be using this to enter like the showing information so other agents can schedule. HomeSnap is something that you get, like there's a free version and a paid version. This is also included in the MLS. So the benefit of HomeSnap is it operates kind of like a database. So if you're someone who doesn't like saving every single contact in your phone, you can use HomeSnap to look up agents, and you can message or call them through the app using your phone's messaging and call features, or you can message through the HomeSnap app, which I don't recommend. A lot of people don't check that. But you can also, there's like additional marketing tools and things that are with it if you use the paid version. So for the free version, it's included in your MLS. So I think it is helpful. I just use it to search agents because it's a lot. This app is much better than the MLS app for that search function. Then we get into some of the KW tools that we're not going to talk about today necessarily, but if you're newer, if you might not have access yet because there is a little bit of delay, but DocuSign, most people are familiar with DocuSign. There is an app. You don't have the full features of the browser version with the DocuSign app because KW has like a special kind of version of DocuSign. But what you can do is if you know you're going on a showing and you're pretty sure that your buyer is going to write an offer, or if you're going on a listing appointment and you're pretty sure they're going to sign, you can set all your documents up in an envelope and then save it as a draft, and then you can send it from the app, so you don't have to then like go back home and then redo it and then send. So I do that. I save things as drafts and then just send them as one-offs. And then what you can also do is you can send the completed documents from the app if you're on the go, so you don't have to log into your computer. Kelly is going through an overhaul. So the benefits of Kelly, it's kind of like the way that Command communicates. So if you're using Command, there isn't a Command app that works really well. So Kelly is the way that you'll get notifications. So if you get new leads, if a referral opportunity comes out, if you have a closing that you've submitted the paperwork and the commission tab to the office, any notifications for that will come through Kelly. So there's a couple of these like KW icons. Kelly's this kind of turquoise color. The KW search app is the white background. So the benefit of the KW app is it's personally branded to you. So a lot of people are going to use Zillow or Realtor.com, or in Cincinnati, a lot of people go to Sipsy Klein's website. The benefit of using this app is when you you can send the app to your clients. So when they download it, it's branded to you. So if they are like messaging an agent, or they like a property, or they create a saved search, you get notifications on all of that, so you can keep up with their activity. So if you don't have access to Command yet, you probably don't have your personal branded app. And so if you're not sure about that, that's something you can touch base with Amanda just to see where you're at in the process. But there's a lot of things you can do, and we're going to talk more about that when we go into Command. But if there's any questions on that, definitely reach out. This is the first time we're running through these modules, so questions that come up, we want to be kind of maybe reworking them a little bit just to see what the best order or best kind of function it is. So Realtor.com and Zillow, you're probably familiar with those. The benefit of using those, sometimes it seems like you're like working with the enemy or whatever, but that's probably where your clients are going to be looking first. So it's a way to see how things show up on these apps. Like if you have listings that show up, you want to see how they look on those apps, because that's likely where people are going to be looking at them as well. The mortgage calculator, if you're in an appointment, you can sit down and you can say like, this is the price of this property. If it's maybe a little bit higher than what they were thinking price-wise, it's going to be able to give them the estimated monthly payment based on a purchase price. So you always want your buyers to be pre-approved, but this is going to help them. If it's like 7 o'clock and they can't get a hold of their lender, you can just run it through this mortgage calculator and give them a pretty good idea of what their payment's going to look like. And these are things that are not required. Google Voice, if you're not familiar, is a like VPN based voice and text option. So through your Keller Williams email, you have access to all of the Google apps for work. It's included in there. So this isn't going to cost you anything. You can get a local number, or like if you're someone who, like when I moved to Cincinnati, I still had my 937 area code, and I didn't want to use that when I was like calling people, because people probably wouldn't pick up if it's not a local area code. So that's an option if you're not from Cincinnati and you still have a different area code, or if you don't want to use your personal number for business, this is a free option. There's an app where you can text and call through, and it keeps it separate. On Android, it's a little bit more integrated because it works better with the Android system than the iPhone system. On iPhone, like your contacts and everything are going to live just in the app, where with Android, it syncs everything together. White Pages, there's a free and a paid version. So it's just a way to quickly access. If you're driving around a neighborhood and you see like a house that maybe looks a little bit distressed, and you work with investors and you think you might have someone that'd be interested in purchasing that, you can just type in the address and it can give you contact information. I believe the paid version's like $5.99. I don't remember. This was something Aaron suggested. So again, it's just going to give you more information if you're looking to get like phone numbers for addresses. And then YouTube, a lot of us probably have YouTube, but the way that you can use this in a business sense is, especially right now with COVID, or if you work with investors that are not local, people might not be walking through the property with you in person. And so if you are not able to do like FaceTime or something like Skype or something like that, what you can do is you can just take your video of the property, you can upload it to YouTube, and you can send them a link. So that way you're not worrying about storing it on your phone. You can just use the YouTube cloud storage as a way to do that. Also, there's a lot of other benefits to YouTube. There's tons of like professional development type videos and stuff on there as well. So if you have any questions on any of these apps, pop that into the chat button, the chat box, and let me know. We're going to quickly go through lockboxes, and then we'll dive into MLS and showing time. So there's a lot, and hopefully you won't see some of these, but I've seen all of these in my 4 years of being an agent. So we talked about Supra, and then SentryLock. If you're someone who works in northern Cincinnati into the Dayton market, unfortunately, they do not use the same electronic lockbox. So SentryLock is the electronic lockbox used in the Dayton MLS. So if you're showing property anywhere north of like Mason or Liberty Township, just double check and see what the lockbox is. It's possible they would be using SentryLock. And so it operates similarly. There's an app, it's a Bluetooth lockbox. So get with Amanda if you're someone who's going to be working in those areas, and we'll make sure you get access. Most of the ones that you're going to see are going to be these three right here, the Supra, and then these two different combos. So a lot of them are going to be that dial, either numbers or letters. This black one right here, sometimes if there's 3 dials, it's usually letters. If there's 4, it's usually numbers. And then this front just pulls down. This one has a little lever. These, I'm starting to see a lot more of these. So these push button ones, and you just pull down the lever. These are phasing out some. These 3 down here, thankfully, are phasing out. But again, it's a push button. You pull it down. You have to like clear it, re-enter, and put it back in. This one had been a long time since I had used a dial like that. So that was a fun time the first time I ran into it. So just to be aware of the things you might run into, it happens. So if you have any questions on those, let me know. So we're going to go into MLS. So a lot of you have access. So the first thing I'm going to recommend, if you haven't already, is to go under this admin tab and go into your profile. So if you've looked at listings and you've clicked on agents' profiles, a lot of people have this like long bio or use the bio section. I don't, because the only people that are going to see that are other agents. And so for the most part, no one, that it doesn't really matter. So I wouldn't waste any time on the bio, but you do want to make sure that your email and your phone number are the ones that you want to be using for business. So a lot of times, like right now, it's taking like a few extra days to get the KW email set up. So you might be registered with like a personal email through MLS. So just whatever email and whatever phone number you're going to be using for business, make sure those are updated. If you have a headshot or a profile picture you want to do, you can do that as well. And if this changes at all, you can always go in and update your email and your phone number later. So I'd say that's step one. The other thing I want to show you is this help center. So there's like this learning center and the online help. The learning center is really helpful because there's like full classes that are like an hour, 2 hours, either through MLS or through here at the office. We do an MLS class as well. But the benefit of these are really short videos that are on very specific topics. So if you're having one specific issue or there's one thing that you're not really sure how to do, this is actually done by Rapatoni. So Rapatoni is like the back end system. And again, if you're someone who's going to be working in either Kentucky or Dayton, it's going to be a different MLS and it's going to be a different system. So you'll have to learn a different system with that as well. There's not really any coordination, but this is just going to be helpful for very quick references. So there's that learning center, and then there's like recorded webinars, there's a getting started guide, diagnostics and support if you're having like issues. So just as a quick reference, those are helpful. This kind of like thing that scrolls through here is for any like announcements or anything new that's coming through. And then this kind of dashboard is fully customizable. So you can reorder these, you can pick which things you want on here. I personally don't really use this. The things that I use most are this search bar. So this is like a quick reference. If you just want to type in, you can search either by address or MLS number. And then the listings and the searches are the things I use most often. And so we're going to start with just a search. So these are the search options you have. Probably the ones you'll use most are the standard and the radius, the school district search. If you have a client, either a buyer or a seller that has like a very specific school district they're looking for, or if they're in an area where, like, for instance, like if the difference between like Princeton schools and Sycamore schools, there is like a value difference in that area. And so doing a radius search on a property that's in Sycamore might pull up a Princeton school, but that's not necessarily the best comp because there is a difference in value between the two districts. The same thing with like in Mount Washington, the difference between Cincinnati Public Schools and Forest Hills, Kings and like Little Miami. There's just different areas in the city where the school districts touch. There's a radius search might overlap, but the school district is going to be specific. So most people are going to be using the standard search most often. And so what you'll use this for is either for comps for a listing or for a buyer that's looking for a specific area. So if you just have one address that you're trying to look up, I would use this quick reference bar up here. It's going to be the easiest But if you're looking for a set of or like multiples, you're going to want to use this search. So these are the different property types. There's subtypes for each of these. There's a bunch of different things. So these areas and suburbs, this is what I was referencing earlier. They're typically grouped by like in a way that makes sense, but it just is going to take it probably took me a year to figure out like the most used ones. So in this binder, we have them, so we have it as a map where it'll have these dots are all the different codes based on like the map. And then we have it kind of in alphabetical order and by county. So you can look at those guides. So someone who might be working with a buyer, tell me like an area, or say you're the buyer, like give me like a area of town and like number of bedrooms, number of baths, and a price range that would be looking. Anyone?
I have can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have a buyer that needs, he's looking specifically for the Lakota, within the Lakota school district. He's actually looking specifically for Lakota East. I had a hard time locating or trying to put that in, but he wants a minimum 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Okay. And looking for a single family or condos, or open to both?
Open to both.
Okay. So this is perfect. So you can do multiple. So in this case, this subtype, this client's interested in single family and condo. In this description, it's going to say either landominium, patio home. I typically start as broad as possible and then get more specific as needed. So for the condos, we're just going to leave these. We're not going to get specific yet. So Lakota. So since it's a specific school district, I'm going to skip the area and the suburb for now and just put the district in. Unfortunately, people run into this with like when someone's looking for like a specific middle school or elementary. The way the school districts are pulled in MLS, it's only going to give you the entire district. So you couldn't search like Hyde Park School or like Pleasant Ridge Montessori. You're not going to be able to get that specific. So what I would recommend is just going onto like the school district's website, and most districts are going to kind of have like a map or show you kind of like where the breakdown might be of which individual school it is. So let's see, it was minimum 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. So here on the baths, there's total and there's full and half. If you have someone looking in any of like the city neighborhoods, so like Norwood, Pleasant Ridge, Kennedy Heights, Hyde Park, you might want to say like you might want to do these subtypes, because if you haven't come across this already, you will. Agents will say that it's a half bath and it's really just like a toilet randomly in the basement, or it's just like a like utility sink and like a shower that looks like it's like you're like rinsing off from like a hazmat situation. So if you have someone who like really needs 2 baths that are not like are on like the living floors and not in the basement, you'll start to recognize what areas. But for now, in like the Westchester, Liberty Township, in the Lakota school district, that's not as common as it might be in City of Cincinnati neighborhoods. And I'm sorry, remind me of what the price range was.
80,000.
Up to 80?
Up to 80, yeah.
Okay.
It's been a slow search.
That's fair. So maybe for this, we'll just say 150,
Okay.
just for the example. So this thing right here include auctions. So sometimes it's not as popular right now because the foreclosure rates are really, the foreclosure inventory is very low right now. But sometimes you'll see properties listed as an auction and it's going to, the price is going to be shown as $0. And then in the remarks, it's going to say like what the minimum bid is or what the reserve is that they have to hit. So it, like with this client, they're up to 80,000. Maybe I would include auctions. A lot of times I don't. If it's just a regular residential buyer, they're probably not going to be interested in an auction. So we'll see if anything pulls, and you can kind of see on a listing what that looks like. So you can get a lot more specific with like flex rooms, levels, basement, architecture, a garage, lot size. All of these things are things that show up on the listing. Under additional criteria, that's where you can really dive into the features. So if they want a pool, if they want a hot tub, if they want like these lifestyle communities, if they're looking, they want an HOA neighborhood that has a clubhouse. There's just a lot. This gets super specific. So if you'll probably all run into a client that has something very specific they're looking for. So that might be when you use this additional criteria page. I typically don't. I just start with this general criteria just to get an idea of how many are out there. So you can hit this preview count button. So there's 4, and then you can hit view results, or you can just hit search and it'll show you what the results are, either way. So there are 4. And so here, again, this is this area code. So E is used for Butler County, and then Westchester is split into East and West. So a lot of the Westchester, Hamilton, Middletown, a lot of the like more northern suburbs are split into East and West or North and South. So I would recommend using that map feature just to see how they split that, because if you're from those areas or you're looking in those areas, you probably have a preference on where in that area they would be looking. So this MLS, this listing number is interactive. So you click on that to look at the listing itself. And so obviously this is a condo. You see the price, see the address, bedrooms, baths, when it was built, square footage. These marketing remarks, you have a limit on, it's 350 characters. So you'll run into like all sorts of abbreviations and acronyms. So like walk-in closet, you'll see if they're saying with, they use that, washer dryer, just because you're very limited on what you can say. So if you have a property that has a lot of features, you're going to have to do a lot of abbreviations to fit everything in here. You can scroll through the pictures through this carousel, or you can click here on the right to make it a full size. You can see where it is on the map and the street view. So it's obviously that's pulled in through Google Maps. So if you're in something that looking at an area that's a little bit more remote, this might not be an option, but for most of the suburban and urban areas, you're going to have a street view as well. Here it's going to show who the listing agent is. So we were talking about the profile. If you click on their name, it's going to pull up the agent's profile, and it'll show a picture. These are designations, so it doesn't necessarily matter, but it's kind of like professional development type things where you can get like a designation or a specialty in different areas. So primary phone, again, like that's office line. You'll run into agents whose the only number they have is the office line, and it's very difficult to get a hold of them. So again, just always have your cell phone in there. And then, so like this is an agent that has a bio. This is something only agents are going to see. So if you feel like it's important for other agents to like have a bio, you can put that. I personally don't think it matters because I'm not going to read them. So the other thing you always want to check, so right here, the commission, the co-op, this is the amount of commission they're offering to the buyer's agent. So if you're writing an offer and this says like 2% or 2.5%, you can write into your offer that the seller is paying a commission that is different than what it says on MLS. But this number here is considered like a contract. So if the listing says 3%, the seller's paying you 3% unless you negotiate differently through the transaction. So you can always look at that. The other thing I should have showed you up here, it's going to tell you how long it's been on the market and the active date. So the difference between days on market and cumulative days on market is sometimes if they've done a price reduction, they'll cancel it and put it back on the market. Or if it went under contract and came back on the market, that's when you might see a difference between these two numbers. So it takes it has to be off the market for 30 days for this cumulative days on market number to reset. So if you see a difference between these numbers, you can go into this property history and see like when it was last listed, if it went under contract, if it came back on the market. So like this one, it went active on the 18th, it went under contract, had a price reduction, it went under contract, and then it went back on the market. And so in this case, what I would do is I would look in this marketing remarks or the agent remarks and see if it says why. My guess is because the marketing remarks say no FHA financing, it was probably a buyer that needed to be FHA and they weren't able to get it. So with condos, if you're not familiar, in order for a condo complex to be eligible for FHA financing, a certain percentage of the units have to be owner occupied versus rentals. So in this case, this complex has too many rentals for it to qualify for FHA financing. So if it does not say this in the marketing remarks and you're working with a condo buyer that is pre-approved for FHA financing, I would just always call the listing agent and ask if it's not referenced. So down here is the agent remarks. These are not public. So this is not something like if your client saw this on Zillow or the KW app or through like a portal, they're not going to be able to see this. So you would always want to check here and see, in this case, this isn't necessarily helpful, but this might be where it says like not FHA approved, something like chandelier does not convey, like if they want to take like something specific with them that would normally go with the property. Right here, this blue number, this is a link to the tax information. So it's going to take you to the like the owner, the tax rate, all of that that's pulled from the auditor site. Up here, the attached docs, this is going to show you the property disclosure. In this case, they have the HOA documents attached. If it's a lead-based paint disclosure is required, it's going to be here as well. So I would just read through this, look, and then say, we want to schedule a showing on this. So there's two ways you can do it. You can click the link that's right there on the listing, or you could log into Showing Time directly. Typically, I'm just clicking the link. So with Showing Time, it's going to show you, again, it's just going to pull all this information, and then you want to pay attention to the appointment type. So the ones you'll see most are appointment required and go and show. If it's a go and show, just like it says, it's likely not an occupied property, so you'll get instant confirmation. Appointment required, it's going to say like how long they need to confirm the appointment. So if it's appointment required, usually the seller they'll get a notification and they have to approve the showing in order for you to get confirmation. So you just want to see, it's going to show your profile. It's going to show you how you'll be notified when the appointment is confirmed. And then you can either do a showing cart or schedule a single showing. The difference, showing cart is if you are going out with a buyer and you're going to look at like I would say more than 2 properties, you can do a showing cart. And the benefit of a showing cart is it's going to give you like if you remember using like MapQuest or Google Maps and you had like 6 different places you needed to go, they have like a smart route option. That's the same with this. It's going to give you like the most efficient route, and it'll also allow all of the requests to be sent out so that you can map them and not have like a weird gap between showings. It's going to give you like the availability and help you schedule them most efficiently. So Christina asked, is the showing cart available in the app? I believe it is. It's difficult to find. So the 2 ways you can do a showing cart is you can either like log into Showing Time directly and set up a showing cart, or you can do it through the MLS like we are here. So I'll show you through Showing Time, the browser version, and then I believe you can do it through the app, but it is going to be like kind of clunky. I typically just use the mobile browser version of Showing Time instead of the app because I think it's a little bit easier to navigate. So we're just going to schedule a single showing for now, just so you can see like what the availability looks like. So now it's going to pull up a schedule. And so if it's blacked out, either that time has already passed or it's unavailable. If there's like a blue, that's going to be someone else has already scheduled a showing for that time. So any of these white boxes, it's available. So the showing time system defaults to 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. So if you have a listing and you don't want someone showing it in a certain time, you can block that out. And we'll go into more detail with that in like the listing conversation. So you just select the time, and then there's different appointment types. So most likely you're going to be showing. If it's under contract and you're like the night before closing, you could do a final walkthrough. If you're scheduling the inspection or an appraisal, most appraisers and inspection companies have access to showing time, so you're not going to have to do this for them. But like a photographer isn't always going to have access. So it just depends. You'll have to like the vendors you're working with, they'll tell you. I would just always ask. You can add a buyer's name. I typically don't, or you can put like a note. So like if I was, this will go to the listing agent. So it could be like second showing, parents walking through with client, or you could say, if it's an inspection, like inspection for like foundation inspection or radon drop off, whatever it is. If it's something specific, you can add this note and then request appointment. So I'm not going to, because I don't want them to like get a confirmed showing, but you hit request appointment. If it's a go and show, a screen will pop up with the lockbox information. And then however you've chosen to be notified, either email or text, you'll get that notification as well. If it's an appointment required, it'll have like a little caution sign saying that the request has been sent, and you'll get notified as soon as it's confirmed. So that's a quick overview of showing time, scheduling a showing. The last thing I'm going to go through is a buyer portal. Are there any questions up to this point on anything that I haven't covered? Okay. We'll have some time at the end as well, and then we'll go back through some things if anything comes up. So probably the next thing that I use the MLS for most often is creating buyer portals. So under contacts, you're going to go into contacts and prospects, and you can choose how you organize these. So I put everyone under client just to keep track, because I don't want to have to search through these. So you can decide how you want to do it. I just like using everyone as a client. And so when you're creating a new portal, you have to create the contact first, and then you add the portal. And so on this little dashboard, it's going to show you the activity. So If it's red, then it's, I think it's more than 30 days since someone has interacted with the portal. If it's red, it's within like 30 days or maybe less than 2 weeks. And then yellow is like 30 days. So it's kind of showing you how active these people are. And then it's telling them like that the invitation was sent and what date it was sent. And then it's going to show how many things are in their cart. And so you can click on this to see what their cart looks like. So it'll show you, this is not someone who's very active, but these will run for a year. And then after a year, it'll send you a message saying, do you want to continue this or do you want to put the portal inactive? So I typically just delete them, which is not great. Or you can just move them to inactive. So this is going to show you, these are all like people who either closed or just went inactive. I typically just delete mine so they're not in the system anymore. So we're just going to create a contact, and this is something we're going to encourage you to do kind of as like homework, is to create a portal, either if you have a client that you're creating a portal for, or for yourself, just as a way to see anytime you have a system or anything that will be sent to your client, like DocuSign, a portal, I encourage you to like send it to yourself so that you can see how it works from the client view. That way, if your client has questions, you can kind of explain it because you've seen it from both the agent and the client view. So all of these like red asterisk ones are required. So it's going to require you to put them into a group. I always just use client because it's easier. And then it is going to require an email. If it's a couple, or if it's like an LLC that has multiple members, you can put more than one person in here. So you can have like a CC email, so it's sent to multiple emails. And you can enter other information. I only use a name and an email because I don't use the MLS to track anything else. So you can use these for sellers to track market activity, but likely you're going to use these as a buyer most often. So if this is an active buyer, you're going to want to do auto prospecting and the client portal. So when you click auto prospecting, this dialog box is going to pop up, and it's going to auto populate to a year. You can change the dates on when it ends, and then you're going to be able to pick the frequency. So the recommended frequency is going to differ depending on how active this person is. I typically do daily. If it's someone who's looking in like a neighborhood where things are going in like 24 hours or less, you might want to do immediately, so they're getting notified every time something new hits the market. So we'll do it immediately, and so this shows it's sent out via email within minutes of the change being saved. So as soon as that listing goes active, your client's going to get notified. So I do a daily, so this is sending it to you when it says agent. I do a daily summary. I don't want to get an email. I don't want to get like 30 emails a day. And so these three things, it'll pop up for both the email to prospect and email to agent. So it's going to notice if one of the listings does a price reduction, it'll send you a notification. If the status changes, it'll send you a notification. If they're in the prospect cart, if the client rejected it, you can do this. I do price changes and status changes. So if there was a property that your client was really interested in, but it went under contract before they were able to see it, if it goes from pending back to active, I want to be notified about that so I can reach back out to my client and say, hey, 123 Main Street came back on the market. I'm not sure what happened, but are you interested in seeing it? I'll contact the agent and get some more information before we go out there. So I want the prospect, so the client is going to get an email for newly matched. And again, I'm going to do, this is up to you. I personally don't check any of these. Well, and that's why I do price change, because I usually add a buffer to the price a little bit, because sometimes it could be negotiable. So if they said, like, I really like this house, but I would need it for $10,000 less. If that house then gets reduced and it's something they would consider, I want them to be notified. If you have multiple emails, you would say yes to CC. I do not, so it's going to be no. This email format, I just do one line list. So it's just going to have a report with the address and like price, bedrooms, baths, and then they can click on the address, the listing number, and that's going to take them to the listing page that we saw that has the pictures and all the additional information. I'm also going to want to set up a client portal for them. So for this portal, if it's a buyer, I only do active and coming soon. If it's a seller, you might do active, coming soon, pending, and sold, so that they can be tracking the entire market activity. With the buyers, for me, there's no benefit to having a listing that they can't buy if it's already pending or sold. So I only want to see active, coming soon. If you're not familiar with the coming soon status, that is where it's active, but there's a time frame between active and when showings can start. So it's anywhere from 0 to 10 days. You cannot schedule a showing, but you can see it. It's more common in higher price listings, or in like, you see it a lot with rehabs, where the listing agent wants to generate as much activity on like the same day as possible to maximize the offers and the price point. Reverse prospecting, this allows other agents to pull data on clients that are looking for criteria that match their listings. So you just do, I think you can have up to like 6 characters. I usually do last name, or I want to enter something that's going to be identifiable. So if an agent emails me and says, hey, client 67895 matches my listing, I'm going to have no idea who that is. If I use a last name, then I'll be able to track it. You can say yes or no. People are going to email you either way, so you may as well say yes. And then I also want to get alerts. I'm going to do once a day. So this is going to tell me once a day, I'm going to get an email saying the activity that my client did within their portal. I'm going to save it, and then it's going to pull up a screen. So just like under this search tab, you're going to have different options for how you can set up the search criteria. I typically just do standard, and then I name it based on like what it is. So whatever you want to name it. You can run multiple searches. So in the case where you have someone like they're looking at both condos and single family, there might be a point where they decide they only want to look at condos. So if you have those running as 2 separate searches, you can just delete the search that they don't want anymore instead of rerunning it and redoing all of your criteria. That's helpful. And then it's just going to go through like a portal. I'm just going to pick something super basic so I can show you what that looks like. Again, I want to change these statuses to just active and coming soon. And then price. So I'm going to hit search, and it's going to pop up with another dialog box. In this case, there were 0 listings. So I'm going to just revise it so it'll show you. That's a bad area. So there's 27 listings. If you click view results, this dialog box is going to pop up, and this is going to be the email that is sent to your client inviting them to their portal. So subject, I usually just say MLS portal. You can send it now, you can choose a time to send it later. And then you'll get a notification that, or you'll be able to see if the email is read. So this is going to show you everything that's in the portal. You can move things to agent recommended, you can save things, you can reject things. Your client can also save and reject listings. So say I really recommend these three. I'm going to move them into agent recommended. So in this case, there's 27 listings. That could be very overwhelming for someone to look through. So if you go through first and pick out like the 5, maybe 10 best listings and put them in agent recommended, tell them to start there, and they'll just look through the portal and they can save and reject or make comments on the listing itself. So that's a very quick overview. Does anyone have any questions on that at this point? Anything we went over today or anything I maybe didn't mention that you're running into in your business, or a question you've gotten from a client?
What do you typically say to somebody when they're like, you know, I don't really want to be set up for that automated email and bog down my email system. I prefer to look off Zillow, and I'll let you know if I see something I want to view. What's your pushback on that?
I would say, I'd say, okay. And then I would set up a portal for them for their criteria, but send it just to myself.
Okay.
And then that way, because it could take up to 24 hours for a listing to show up on Zillow, but if in the portal, it's going to show up right away. So you're going to be able to send them a listing faster than they're going to see it on Zillow. So then that's going to make you look better. So say, hey, this just hit the MLS. It looks like exactly what you're looking for. Check out this link and let me know if you want to schedule a showing.
Okay.
Anyone else has something they're running into or any questions? Going. Okay. So I would recommend for Thursday, what we're going to talk about on Thursday is going to be a little bit more like situational things, like Hope was saying, like these are things that your buyers might, or your clients might be asking you. How do you set your buyers up for success if they're going through open houses and you're not walking through with them? How do you like maximize your offer, and like just some of the more like practical things versus like the technical side. So I'd recommend setting up a portal for yourself or for a client between now and Thursday. Just try to break the system and then come with questions on Thursday, and we'll walk through any scenarios you run into. If you want a binder, respond to our email or send me a note. I'll put my email in here.
Hey, Robbie, will you stay on with me for a second? And I mean, if other people may have this issue, they can stay on too. I don't care, but I want to share my screen with you. I just got a notification from the MLS that if I don't fix my listing, I could be fined. I cannot add my listing contract to the MLS because it says it's password protected, and I don't know how to take that off to get that on there.
Yeah, so is that, yeah, this is actually perfect. So with,
I can share my screen with you if that's helpful.
So you don't want to attach the listing contract to the MLS. You just want to email it to them.
Oh, okay. So I don't have to put that on there. All right.
No, so the email for MLS is mlsdocs@cincymls.com. So you can share it through DocuSign or .loop, whichever you're using, or you could just email it through Gmail.
Okay, perfect.
So you just have to, within 72 hours. So the rule of thumb with MLS is 72 hours. So any action that requires documentation should be sent to MLS within 72 hours, or you'll get one of those like notifications. And
Okay.
You get up
So-
to 3 before they actually fine you.
Okay, so lead-based paint and everything I attach, no problem, but when it comes to the listing contract, it needs to be sent directly.
Yeah, anything that other agents should be able to view, like some people even put like an agency disclosure or an affiliated business disclosure on MLS. So anything for the clients or for the agents attached, anything that's only for like compliance, like a price reduction, the listing contract, a cancellation, that's just emailed directly to MLS. For Cincy MLS, for Dayton and Northern Kentucky, it's
So I should ask you that too then. We've had a price reduction since I originally put it on. Do I
Okay.
need to have my client signature that price reduction and have that sent also?
yeah. So there's a form in DocuSign. Are you using Dotloop or DocuSign?
I'm using DocuSign.
Okay, so in the DocuSign templates, there should be it's either going to say price reduction or amendment to the listing contract.
Okay.
And if you can't find it, send me a note and I'll send you the PDF. So yeah, they'll have to sign the price reduction. You could just send both at the same time.
Okay, great, thanks.
So if anyone wants a binder, stop into the office. Nancy has them at the front desk. Let us know and we'll just make sure we have them up there and are ready for you guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, even if it's not during one of these times. And Aaron and myself are here as a resource. I'm going to put my phone number in here as well. So email, call, text, just let me know what you're running into with issues. I know we had 2 people that don't have access to MLS yet. Check in with Amanda and see and if you have any issues with the systems, let us know. But thanks, guys. That's all we have for today. See you Thursday. We will send out this link as well as a link to the Google Drive for the resources if you don't want a physical binder. So have a good one, guys. See you Thursday.
Thanks, Robbie.